Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with our host, Christina Nichman.
Our guest today is return guest to Savvy, Joel Comm, sharing his latest exciting book, The Fun Formula, How Curiosity, Risk-Taking, and Serendipity Can Revolutionize How You Work. Joel Comm is a New York Times bestselling author of 13 books, including Click Here to Order, Ka-Ching, and Twitter Power 3.0. Find out more about Joel Comm and his books at joelcomm.com. Hi, Joel. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. For our return guest, we're so grateful to have you here today.
And thank you for having me back. This is so fun.
Oh my gosh, you've been here several times at Savvy. In fact, I think you came after the first year that we were on air. We're now almost 7 years keeping going here, and we're very happy to have you talk about your latest book, The Fun Formula, How Curiosity, Risk-Taking, and Serendipity Can Revolutionize How You Work. And in a time when you can get stuck in mundane, whether it be your business life or in life in general, you lose sight of fun, and we need to get back to that. So fill in the audience a little bit before we go there about your background and how you came to becoming a best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur.
Well, I'm still not sure how it all happened, but I know I'm unemployable. And I have been doing business online for 23 years now, which just is mind-blowing to me. And in that time, I've done, so many different things, everything that's not illegal, immoral, or fattening. I've made sites, I've sold sites, I've done affiliate marketing, internet marketing, social media marketing, videos, live video, information products, public speaking. I've written 15 books. I've done podcasting. And I like to play. I like to try out the new technologies and find the ones that just suit how I like to deliver a message to people.
Yeah, and that's what I really, really loved about your newest book, Joel, is that the idea of play is lost with adults. I think as adults, we're told that play is for children when you're 5 or 6, maybe 10. But after that, you need to get serious, get rid of play, and get busy and get working.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, and I love that your book shows that really you can work and have fun, that play actually brings the best out of your work.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think if you can tell the difference between your work and your play, you're probably doing one of them wrong. I don't know what happened that this idea that we're supposed to just work and toil our lives away and stop being curious and childlike in how we explore and try new things. It's this hustle and grind mentality that's being pushed on us by people who are trying to sell you something. There's certainly virtue and hard work. And don't get me wrong, there's seasons of life that you need to buckle down. You need to do what needs to be done to be responsible, to provide, and to make it happen. But just because hard work is a virtue doesn't mean that 10 times the hard work is 10x the virtue. It's actually a dangerous mindset. It's unhealthy, I believe, both personally and professionally. And I have the evidence to support this, because what I did is I reverse engineered my 23 years of business, online in particular. And I looked at the Grand Slam home runs I've had, and there's been about 7 of them. And I looked at the massive failures that I've had and everything in between. And what I realized is that the home runs actually took the least amount of effort. And they happened when I was most aligned with my passions, my curiosity, my ability to take risks, and trusting the process. The failures, on the other hand, are the ones that were the most draining and took the most time and energy. And so I think, while it's not a mathematical formula, there is a methodology and a philosophy and approach to your life and your business that I believe will lead to more success in your business and more fulfillment in life.
I love that, Joel. And I've found the same for myself in all facets of my life, whether it be business or life, that sometimes when you push the hardest is when you have the least amount of results. I remember a couple of years ago, I know you had become quite healthy and got yourself into fit and shape, and I got myself very out of shape. I was in my business thinking if I just get one more sale, work one more hour, I'll be that much more successful. And I got myself 65 pounds overweight and feeling pretty horrible. And of course, when you're sitting here at your desk all day long and just eating crap food, you're feeling even worse. So it got to a point when sometimes that idea of surrender, which is not giving up, but the idea of the process, you must look like this, that the end result must look like that. It's letting go of that. And as you said, trust the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it is, control is an illusion, right? We can control what we're going to have for a meal, or what we might do during the day. But honestly, there's only so much we actually have control over when you figure that there's 7 billion people in this world, and any of them could impact your life in a number of ways at any time that you have no control over. There's political forces that could impact your life. There are environmental forces that can, impact your life. And we actually have control of very little. But when you understand what you can control and what you can't, and you learn to trust the direction you're going and don't try to force things, I believe that opens you up to more good things happening and coming your way. And usually they are unexpected. They don't happen in a way you think they're going to happen. But, when you're focused on, it needs to happen this way, and this is what I'm going to do, and here's my 30-year plan, there's a saying that man plans and God laughs. I don't think that God laughs. I think God just kind of smacks his head and goes, oh, man, really? Chill and watch how this works out. It's not going to be like you think, but it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole idea of fun here brings me back to a wonderful teacher I had in high school, our Italian teacher. And he operated different from all the other teachers that had you sit in a chair, listen to me drone on for an hour and a half, and then go on to your next class.
Right.
He used to stand up on the desk, and he used to bring us on field trips almost every class where we'd be forced in real life to use Italian in fun ways. And it made me excited to go to the class for one, but it really helped ingrain and get the knowledge into use into my life, because you can sit here behind a desk, hear all day long these lectures, but incorporating and applying the knowledge is one thing. But when he brought play into it, it really impacted us to really be able to apply the knowledge that we were getting.
Absolutely. It's a whole different approach. This idea that you can't be childlike. People never guess that I am as old as I actually am, because I'm playful and I feel youthful. Age is a funny thing. I've got friends that are 25 years younger than me, and I don't look at them as young friends. They're just friends. And I feel like I still hang with people who are younger and older than me because they're just people. We have it all wrong, because what happens in school? What do we teach kids? It's the only time in your life that you are put in a room with people your exact same age. Right. And you're all expected to progress, at the same speed and learn the same things. And then you get out in the real world as an adult, and that's not how it works. It's just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your book mentioned the idea that, hard work does not necessarily equate getting the goals you want, that it's really about leveraging your activities to the best of your ability so that you can get the best results. So it's not necessarily working harder, like me sitting here 16 hours a day, hoping one more sale, then I'll get up and exercise. Wasn't necessarily getting me to the goal I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Share a little bit about that.
Well, and there's no, this idea that making an extra few dollars is going to make you happy. And I'm not talking about those that, you're supporting a family. You might be a single parent and you might have to work 3 jobs in order to do what needs to be done. I'm not talking about that, right? There's the must times in our lives, but then there's the times where we have a choice. And, the older I get, the more I realize that money and materialism really only takes you so far. And your quality of life, your lifestyle, how you live is far more important. And, while I was writing this book, a dear friend passed away unexpectedly. I'm a man in the same age bracket as me. I've known him for, 3 decades and just really took me off guard. But it reminded me that we have to seize the day. Carpe diem, and his name is Mark Jones. The book is dedicated to him, and he carped the diems. He lived his life, and he loved people, and he didn't pursue material possessions. He pursued relationship and blessing others. And once you've made money or lost money, you understand what money can do. But having an abundance of it doesn't really. Once you're at a certain where your bills are paid, it doesn't really impact your life in the way you think it would, unless you're trying to buy big houses and fancy cars and all those things that are nice for a moment and then become burdensome to you. Traveling lighter and having a lifestyle that is more relationship centric is far more rewarding for the majority of people once they come to that place.
Absolutely, Joel. And a friend of mine recently brought to my attention a blog they started called 6 Months to Live. And what was really impactful about it for me was I thought to myself, that's the whole point of her blog, is really considering what if you knew that today, from this point on, 6 months from this point, you will not be here. Would you be living differently? Would you have different values? How would you approach your life? And when I thought of it that way, I said, wow, I would not be doing some of the things I'm doing. I would not be hanging out with some of the people I'm hanging out with. It makes you consider, seriously, if you only had 6 months, how would you be living? How would you approach life?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you just don't know when it is actually your time. And when we're planning for the future, and there's nothing wrong with having some plans, but when our focus is always on tomorrow, we're missing out on today. And we know that right now, if you're here and, everybody do this little exercise, take your fingers, put them on your wrist. Do you feel a pulse? Okay, yes. You're still here, and it's the here and now. And what are you going to do with the here and now? Because the next moment is not promised. And for somebody in the world right now, guess what? At this very moment, somebody's not having a next moment. And so not trying to be morbid, but it just sober and realistic that if we don't seize the day and choose to live in the moment, we're going to miss the moments for the promise of something that may never manifest.
And maybe you really don't want to manifest. As you mentioned, sometimes when you hold on to the picture of what you think is perfect for you, you miss the opportunity of what could be even better because you're holding so strongly to that vision that it has to go just like this.
Well, there's a great metaphor for that. I mean, put something in your hand and close your hand and you're holding on to it. Let that thing go. You're no longer holding on to it, but now your hand is open. And when your hands are open, you can receive something else. And so there's all kinds of applications to this, not only materially, but emotionally. Some people hold on to pain and their grief and their loss as part of an identity. And yes, our experiences help shape and make us. But when we hold on to the past, and we all know people like this, unfortunately, that have never moved forward, and everything is, grasped in their hands, you have to let go. You have to move on. We have to forgive one another. We have to let go of things we can't control. And we need to be open to, okay, what is in store for me next?
Absolutely, Joel. And you mentioned something else very important, relationships in your life, whether it be business, family, friends. My mom passed last year and it was unexpected. She had a massive stroke and 3 days later she was gone.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But that's just it. The relationships that you might take for granted today might not be here tomorrow. So, I can go see mom tomorrow, or I can go hang out with my friends tomorrow, they might not be here. So again, that's what I really love that you brought to the forefront, how important relationships are in your life and to not take them for granted.
Yeah, business is important. Producing, making a difference through our vocation, through what we do to bring value to others is important. But what's more important is the type of person we are and how we relate to other people. I think we're all here with certain gifts and talents and passions and abilities and personality, and we're designed to make a positive impact on the world around us. And if we're not doing that, if we're just pursuing, the Lamborghini and the stacks of cash, I believe that we're missing out on that which is going to be truly rewarding.
Yes. And you mentioned something else that I really liked. It's used a lot today, and that is authenticity. What is true authenticity? It's thrown about a lot, but what is true authenticity and what is the importance of it in helping you build a great life and a great business?
Well, it's something that I haven't arrived at, and I'm still learning. Right. You know, we are shaped and formed by our families, by our teachers, by our peers, into believing there's a certain way that we are supposed to think and behave, to conform. Authenticity is getting in touch with who we really are and what we really want, and showing up in that world in the most real way, regardless of what other people might think, say, believe, or perceive about us. It's being true to ourselves, and it is a process. And when I catch myself caring about what somebody else might think or say or believe and how that potential makes me feel, I go, okay, what is, how do I be and show up as truly authentic in this moment? What are the fears? Why are they there? What do they mean to me? How do I release those? And so it is a process. And unfortunately, a lot of us, well, everybody wears masks. Okay. It's just the varying degrees of masks that we wear. Nobody, assuming that what we're doing is not illegal. Of course, nobody who's doing anything illegal wants to be exposed, but even, being legal, nobody wants their deepest thoughts, on parade for the rest of the world to see, because it doesn't feel safe to us. But, then we discover that we're all kind of, weird, because we're all human beings. And we all have our stuff, and nobody has a right to judge you for who you are. It can be very liberating.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you mentioned it, because I think all of us want to see everyone to see us in our best light. And no one has absolute perfect light. There are times where we have some, dark shadows, but to get in touch with our dark side and say, okay, I'm human. I'm not perfect in all areas, and that's okay. But also you mentioned about failure, and that's something I beat myself up a lot. And I think our culture, it really sees as not a good thing. And it's, how do you go about from seeing failure as something that can be turned around to something positive and a lesson learned?
Oh, I think failure is positive and always has lessons to be extracted from it. We look at failure as not succeeding at the thing we had hoped to accomplish, but it's not always in our best interest to succeed at the things we want to accomplish. Just because we think it's going to be right and good, it might not actually be the best thing for us. Whether it is or not, we can always have takeaways. And I remember one time, and I wrote about this in the book, The Fun Formula. I invested a solid 6 figures in finances and staff and time and energy into building a platform for mobile marketing on cell phones that ended up failing. Horribly failing, ended up pulling the plug on it and lost a lot of money. But, it was agonizing to pull the plug on it because I was feeling the weight of the failure associated with it. And I thought when I finally shut it down, it would be crushing, I really blew it this time. But instead, what I discovered is the moment I pulled the plug, I felt a release. The burden was lifted off my shoulders, and I discovered something really important that day that I'll never forget, that I stopped failing the moment I stopped paying for it. And so now I am more inclined to, first of all, get into projects that I'm really passionate about, that I don't chase something just because I can make money doing it. And secondly, if it looks like it's not going to work and it's not essential that it succeeds, that there means there's other opportunities, there's other things I could do, that I fail fast and let it go and move on.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's hard for people to realize, like, oh, I don't want to see this as a failure, but you can see, okay, this didn't work, but let's let it go till it's something even grander. As you said, open your hand so another great opportunity can come in.
Well, and you don't have the major home runs if you don't swing for the fences. And so, you have to go for it, but you don't have to be married to the outcome. Be married to the process, right? Put yourself all into what you're doing. But if the outcome isn't what you want it to be, then that's okay. You can do something else. There is more opportunity out there in our world right now. This is the greatest time to be alive. I have no doubt there is more opportunity for more individuals to live their dreams right now than there has ever been. I'm talking about in the free world. And there's so much opportunity that if one door closes, some people say, well, you just keep banging on that door until it opens. And I'm thinking, really? What about that door over there that's open just a crack? Can we go peek in there and see what's happening there rather than, bloody my fist trying to break down this door? Or what about that door be over there? See, look down the road there. That thing's wide open. Let's go play in that sandbox and see if there's something there that stirs our passion and our creativity and our imagination. And that, I think, is the secret of my success, is that willingness to be playful and say, oh, this fascinates me. Let's try this. In fact, it just happened while I was writing the book, which was a real surprise to me, because I'm going to make a confession. While I was writing the fun formula, I was actually internally struggling with what my next home run was going to be. She wasn't sure whether the book was going to be a home run or not. I knew the message, was evergreen and could impact lives. But in terms of developing my next business, was my best work behind me? Because I hadn't had a home run. I think out of my string of 7, what I would call Grand Slam home runs, my last one was in 2009. And here we are in 2017. I'm turning in the manuscript for this book, and I'm questioning myself and wondering, am I just going to coast for the rest of my career, or am I going to do something even bigger? And it was while the first draft was being edited that I started going down the cryptocurrency rabbit hole and learning about blockchain and talking about it with my friend Travis Wright, who's a leading marketing technologist. And we were just so enamored with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and what blockchain technology is going to do to disrupt so many verticals and change our lives. Our conversations became long conversations. And one day he jokingly said we should do a podcast. And I non-jokingly said, you're right, we should. And we took that passion without expectations of what it would do. And we started the Bad Crypto Podcast a year ago, July. And a year later, we've had about 5 million downloads in our first year. And we're one of the top crypto shows, and we're having a blast. And so, the third part of the fun formula is serendipity, is trusting the process. And so as I was writing this book, telling people, you have to trust the process, I could not manufacture my next success. I had to trust that at the right time, in the right place, if I remained open, opportunity would arise. And it did very organically. And I think it had to happen while I was writing the book. We have to be challenged with that which we are teaching others. Otherwise, if we're not really implementing, do we really believe it?
Absolutely. And you mentioned that sometimes in your book, the hobbies that we take for granted, just the fun things we do, or I'm interested in, jumping out of airplanes or whatever it might be, can sometimes serendipitously turn into something that could be a business down the line. You mentioned a fascination with wanting to do stand-up, which I thought, wow, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a fascination, but it is on my bucket list. I'm a public speaker. I have no problem getting on stage and giving a presentation. I don't get, the butterflies in my stomach anymore. I feel like I'm stepping into my own living room. But, there's something about stand-up, which I know is totally different. It is not the same thing. I have no delusions that I'm going to be funny, but it's something that I want to do at some point. I'm starting to, make notes of things that I think would make for, a good bit. And I actually pledged to my friend Andrea Vall, who is she's a Coloradan as well, and she is a Facebook trainer and marketer, but she also does stand-up. And I saw her at Social Media Day Denver here just a week ago, and I said, I am ready to commit to this year moving towards doing that routine.
Wow. Yeah, and it's huge. You never know where that might lead. It might not lead to a new career in stand-up, but it might lead you in another path you would have never expected. Just because you did something a little bit or a lot of bit uncomfortable. That would be a lot of bit uncomfortable for me. But the same came for me when I started this podcast. I was scared of speaking to people. I never did any public speaking of any sort, talking to strangers. But that sometimes stepping off the ledge can be what brings you to the next spot of your life that can just have you exploding with your gifts and talents in ways you would have never expected.
There's an old story. It's as old as the Bible, in fact, and it's whether you believed it actually happened or not. There was a story where where Jesus' disciples were in a boat, and he was out on the water, like walking on the water. And Peter, who's one of the disciples, said, "I want to come to you," and that meant he had to walk on water. Well, guess what? That doesn't happen unless you get out of the boat. It takes a literal step of faith to do something in the direction that you want it to happen. It doesn't happen by just sitting home and watching television. You have to do something. And there was I can't remember who wrote the book, but the title of the book was, "If you want to walk on water, you got to step out of the boat." And so how, if you're listening to this, how are you going to step out of the boat today? What step of faith are you going to take in the direction of your dreams that will give you the opportunity to walk or to sink? Because you might sink.
But it's okay, because that way okay, this didn't work. Let's move on.
And it's good if you could swim.
Even better. Yeah. And what's cool, when I first got started with my business, consulting, financial business consultant, my coach said, "So what do you want to do?" And I'm like, I don't know where I want to go next. But like you said, that trusting in the process, I started to just say, okay, I'm going to trust. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to start doing things to move me forward, meeting people, going to networking events. It was through that I met someone who was doing a podcast that introduced me to the world of podcasting. So like you said, you don't know where you're going, but trusting in the process, getting out there, getting uncomfortable a little bit outside your comfort zone, meeting new people will open up the doors of things and processes and events that you would have never expected will to bring you to new places that can help you grow.
Amen. You said it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been fabulous talk, Joel. Don't let anyone leave here without finding out how they can find out more about you and get your awesome new book, The Fun Formula.
Yeah, so of course I'm everywhere on social at Joel Comm, but the book itself you can purchase at retailers everywhere. But if you'll go to this website, there's a ton of bonuses, including 2 of my other books that you'll get for free, as well as some other items. It's funformulabook.com. And just put in where you purchased it with an order number, and you'll have instant access to the downloads.
That is fabulous. Well, again, I thank you for coming back to Savvy Business Radio and sharing your great wisdom today. Thank you so much,
My
Joel.
pleasure.
Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network, celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina@savvybusinessradio.com.